A poor mother takes her daughters out for dinner on Christmas Eve with little money, but what the billionaire does next moves everyone. The snow fell lightly on the street as Lauren pushed the restaurant door open. The bell hanging over the entrance chimed, announcing their arrival. Chloe and Hannah rushed in, shaking the white flakes from their coats. "Slowly, girls," Lauren whispered, though she knew it was pointless. They were too excited. The place was simple. Worn wooden tables, red and white checkered tablecloths, warm string lights hanging from the ceiling. It smelled of home cooking and cinnamon. A few families already occupied the tables, talking quietly while waiting for their orders. It was Christmas Eve, and this restaurant was among the few open in the city. Lauren chose a table near the window. The girls climbed onto their chairs, pressing their little faces against the glass to see the street decorations. Chloe, at 5 years old, pointed at every colorful twinkle light. Hannah, 3, imitated everything her sister did. "Look, Mommy. That Santa is shining?" Lauren smiled, that tired smile of someone carrying a heavy load alone. "It sure is, sweetie." She took her wallet from her purse and opened it slowly, as if she didn't want anyone to see. She counted the bills, twice. Then she sighed. Across the room, sitting alone at a corner table, James watched them. He hadn't come to the restaurant by choice. He had come because staying home, in the absolute silence of his penthouse apartment, was worse. At least here there were voices, movement, some illusion that the world wasn't just made of empty walls. James was 50 years old, with a lifetime of accumulated loneliness. Not for lack of money, not for lack of opportunities, but because he never knew how to connect. People would come, say things, laugh, and he would be there, present but absent. Over time, they stopped trying. And then he stopped trying too. Now, on Christmas Eve, he was there, alone, as always. But something made him look at the table by the window. The young woman, the two blonde, bright-eyed girls, radiant with energy, something about that scene held him. He couldn't explain why. The waitress approached Lauren's table with a wide smile. "Good evening, do you know what you'd like yet?" Lauren picked up the menu and showed it to the girls. "Look here, see what they have." Chloe pointed to a large, colorful picture. "Mommy, can we order this?" It was a Christmas special. Roast turkey with golden potatoes, gravy, grilled vegetables, and a slice of pie for dessert. Lauren looked at the price. Her stomach clenched. "I'm sorry, we don't have a lot of money." Chloe pouted, but didn't insist. Hannah tugged on her mother's sleeve. "What about that one?" It was another expensive dish. Lauren shook her head slightly. "How about we share a large order of pasta, and then if we have enough left, we can get a slice of cake. What do you think?" The girls agreed, but Lauren saw the disappointment in their little eyes. She swallowed the lump in her throat. "It'll be delicious, I promise." She placed the order in a steady voice, but inside she was falling apart. She had planned this outing for weeks, saved every penny she could. She wanted to give her daughters a special night, something that felt like a holiday, something that would ease the harshness of the last few months. But reality was harsh too. She looked out the window, blinking quickly to hold back tears. Across the room, James couldn't tear his eyes away. He had heard everything, not on purpose. But the restaurant was small and their table was close. He had heard the girl's timid request, the mother's careful reply, the kindness with which she turned disappointment into something bearable, and something stirred inside him. James wasn't the type to act on impulse. He overthought everything, overanalyzed. He got stuck behind his own barriers, but tonight something was different. He stood up. He walked over to their table before he could change his mind. Lauren looked up, surprised. The man was tall, with grey hair, dressed simply but neatly. He looked uncomfortable but determined. "Excuse me," James began, his voice a little hoarse. I don't mean to intrude, but I noticed you're alone, just like me, and it's Christmas. It would be an honor if you'd accept dinner with me." Lauren blinked, unsure what to say. I'm sorry, but I don't think I can." James held up his hands, as if asking for calm. "I understand, I know it seems strange, but I promise I have no ulterior motives. I just didn't want to spend this evening alone. And you seem like good people. If you don't mind, I'd like to pay for dinner for all of us." Chloe looked up at her mother with wide blue eyes. "Mommy, is he nice?" James smiled awkwardly. "I hope so." Lauren hesitated. She had every reason in the world to be suspicious. A single mother couldn't afford to be naive. But there was something about the man's demeanor. Something sincere, sad even. She looked at the girls, then at him. "All right, you can sit down." James felt such enormous relief that he nearly tripped over the chair. The waitress returned, curious. James ordered the Christmas special for each of them. Lauren tried to refuse, but he insisted gently, "Please, it's my treat." "For you." When the food arrived, the girls burst into cheers. Chloe clapped her hands. Hannah started singing and made-up song about turkey. Lauren smiled, a genuine one this time. James ate slowly, but the food wasn't his focus. It was the chatter, the girls' spontaneity, the way Chloe told endless stories, mixing fact and fantasy. The way Hannah imitated the adults, serious and funny at the same time. And Lauren, the way she talked to her daughters, with infinite patience, with exposed love. James felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt warmth. Not the warmth of the heater or the hot food, but the warmth of being close to people who accepted him, who asked for nothing in return, who were simply existing there, alive, present, real. "Do you have children?" Lauren asked, breaking his silence. James shook his head. "No, I never had a family. I mean, I have some distant relatives, but no one close. I've always lived alone." "That must be hard," she said, without pity, just understanding. "It is. Especially this time of year." Chloe leaned forward, crumbs of pie at the corner of her mouth. "You don't have anyone to spend Christmas with?" James smiled. "Now I do. You." The girl seemed to think about that for a moment. Then she nodded, satisfied, and went back to eating. Lauren watched James closely. He wasn't intrusive. He didn't ask too many questions. He was just there, listening, present, and that somehow made all the difference. Dinner continued with more laughter. Hannah spilled juice on the tablecloth and started crying, but James made a funny face that made her burst out laughing again. Chloe asked him to draw a Santa on a napkin, and he tried, and even though he was terrible at drawing, for the first time in a long time, James wasn't just taking up space. He was participating, existing, mattering, and that shook him. When they finished eating, Lauren gathered her things to leave. James stood up too. "Thank you," she said, and the gratitude was genuine. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but I wanted to. And it was the best Christmas Eve I've had in years." Lauren held the girl's hands and started for the door, but before walking through it, Chloe turned around. "Merry Christmas." James felt his eyes sting. "Merry Christmas, little one." He stood there watching the three of them disappear into the snow. The restaurant was still full. The conversations continued. Life went on, but something inside him had changed. For the first time in many years, James truly smiled, and he felt that maybe, just maybe, there was still a place for him in this world. James didn't expect to see them again. He had gone for a walk with no real destination, as he always did when his apartment felt too heavy. The cold bit at his face, but he preferred it to the silence of the empty living room. The city was decorated, wreaths hanging on lampposts, lights blinking in every storefront. People hurried by, carrying shopping bags and packages. He was standing in front of a window display when he heard the voice, "It's him, it's the man." James turned around. Chloe was running toward him, with Hannah close behind, stumbling over her own feet. Lauren followed, pulling the girls back by the arm. "Chloe, don't run off like that." But the girl had already arrived. She stopped in front of James, breathless, her cheeks red from the cold. "Hi, do you remember us?" James felt something tighten in his chest. Of course he remembered. He hadn't been able to stop thinking about them since that night. "Of course I do." Lauren reached her daughters, adjusting Hannah's hat that had slipped down. The girl's blonde hair shone under the colored streetlights. "I'm sorry. They saw you and just took off. No need to apologize." They stood there for a moment, unsure what to say. The movement of the street continued around them, but it felt like the world had shrunk. Just the four of them there, amidst the lights. "Are you looking at the decorations?" James asked. Chloe nodded, excited. Mommy promised we'd walk all over the city. And we will, Lauren said, but there was tiredness in her voice. We just need to go slowly, okay? James hesitated. He didn't want to be a bother, but he also didn't want this meeting to end so quickly. May I join you? Lauren blinked, surprised. You want to? If it's not inconvenient. She looked at the girls who were already jumping for joy. Then she looked at him. There was something on James's face that she recognized. Loneliness, the same she felt. All right, let's go together. They started walking along the main street. The storefronts gleamed with decorated trees and fake snowmen. Chloe and Hannah ran from one shop to another, pointing at everything they saw. James walked beside Lauren, his hands in his coat pockets. They have a lot of energy, he commented. Lauren smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Yes, sometimes I don't know where they get it. They stopped in front of a toy store. The girls pressed their faces against the glass, enchanted by the giant teddy bears and rows of dolls. Hannah pointed at a pink dollhouse, her light eyes wide. Look, Chloe, it even has a real staircase. James watched. The way their eyes sparkled, how magical everything seemed, how happiness could be so simple. You're good with them, Lauren said suddenly. I noticed that at the restaurant. You were kind. James didn't know how to reply. No one had ever said that to him. I don't know if I'm good with them, but they're easy to like. Lauren laughed softly. Her tired but genuine laugh. They started walking again. They passed a group of carolers singing Christmas songs, a square decorated with luminous reindeer, and children running with balloons tied to their wrists. The world was full of movement, of life, and for the first time in a long time, James didn't feel out of place. He felt like he belonged. May I ask you something? Lauren said after a while. Of course. Why did you do that at the restaurant? Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful, but why? James thought before answering. He didn't want to lie, but he didn't quite know how to explain either. Because I saw you, and I realized you were going through something difficult, and I know what that's like. Going through hard things alone, I thought maybe I could help. Lauren was quiet for a moment, then she took a deep breath. I lost my job 3 weeks ago. James stopped walking. He looked at her. I'm so sorry. It was sudden. The company closed a branch, and I was in it. I have bills to pay, back rent, and 2 girls to feed. She looked at Chloe and Hannah, who were ahead and chasing snowflakes. But I can't let them see I'm desperate. They need a mother, not someone falling apart. James felt something shift inside him, a desire to fix things, to solve problems, to do something. Have you looked for another job? Every day. But it's hard this time of year. No one hires near Christmas, and when they do, they want experience I don't have or ask for things I can't provide. She shook her head. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to vent like that. You don't have to apologize. Lauren looked at him, and for the first time she realized James was genuinely listening. Not with pity, not with judgment, just listening. You're different, she said. Different how? Most people disappear when things get tough, or pretend they don't see. But you, I don't know. You seem to genuinely care. James didn't answer immediately, because she was right. He did care, and that scared him a little. It had been a long time since he allowed himself to care about anything. Maybe because I understand, he finally said, what it's like to be alone, what it's like to want to do better and not know how. Lauren nodded slowly. She didn't say anything, but her eyes said she understood too. Chloe ran back, with Hannah trailing behind. Mommy, can I grab some snow? You can, but just a little. And don't put it in your mouth. The girl darted off. Hannah followed her, trying to copy everything. They squatted on the ground, scooping snow into their small hands. Chloe tried to make a snowball, but the snow slipped through her fingers. Hannah threw flakes into the air, laughing when they fell on her hair. James watched it all. The way they laughed. The way they turned any moment into fun. The way life for them was still full of possibilities. Something inside him broke. Not in a bad way, but like when a wall that has stood too long finally gives way, and behind it, there is light. They're happy, he said, almost to himself. They are, even with everything. Lauren crossed her arms, trying to shield herself from the wind. "I try to give them the best I can, but it's not always enough." "You give them love. That's already a lot." Lauren looked at him again. There was something vulnerable in the way James spoke, as if every word cost him. "Did you really spend your whole life alone?" "Yes. I never knew how to do anything else. And now—" James was silent. He looked at the girls, he looked at Lauren, he looked at the city lights, the people passing by. That simple and imperfect moment. "Now I want to try." Lauren didn't say anything, but she nodded. And somehow that was enough. They started walking again, slower now. The snow began to fall harder, dusting their shoulders and hair. Chloe and Hannah took James' hands, one on each side, and pulled him down the street. Come on, there are more lights up ahead." He let them. He didn't resist. He didn't run away. He just let those little hands guide him. The girl's gloves were soft and warm. He squeezed back gently. Lauren walked behind, watching. There was something strange about all of this. A man they barely knew, but who, somehow, seemed to be exactly where he should be. They reached a corner where a vendor was selling roasted chestnuts. The sweet smell filled the air. Hannah pulled on James' hand. "Can I have some?" He looked at Lauren, asking for permission. She hesitated but nodded yes. James bought a small bag and shared it with the girls. They ate them right there, standing up, blowing on the hot chestnuts. Chloe burned her tongue and looked like she was about to cry, but she soon started laughing again. James smiled, a genuine smile, complete. And for the first time in a long time, he felt the urge to stay. Not just on that street, not just for that night, but there, with them. In something that felt finally like a beginning, James spent 3 days thinking before showing up. He didn't know if it was right. He didn't know if he'd be welcome, but he also couldn't stop thinking about those 2 blonde, bright-eyed girls, running through the snow, laughing at everything. And about Lauren, carrying the world on her shoulders without complaining. So on a cold afternoon, he bought the toys. It wasn't from an expensive store. It was a simple place where the things were honest. A rag doll for Hannah, a building block set for Chloe. Nothing over the top, just enough to bring a smile. He pulled out the address Lauren had given him that night when they said goodbye on the corner. He had kept the paper in his coat pocket and looked at it constantly, as if it might disappear. Now he was standing in front of the building. It was an old place. 3 stories, dark brick, outside metal fire escape. It wasn't ugly, but it was worn out. The kind of place that endures because it has no choice. James climbed the stairs slowly, holding the bags. He knocked on the door of apartment 2B. He heard quick footsteps. Then Chloe's voice yelling, "I'll get it." The door flew open. Chloe stood there, wide-eyed. Then she yelled even louder, "Mommy, it's him! The man from the lights!" Hannah appeared behind her sister, already jumping. Lauren came right after, drying her hands on a dish towel. She stopped when she saw James, surprised. "James." He held up the bags, feeling a bit awkward. "Hi, I brought some things for the girls. I hope I'm not intruding." Lauren blinked, still processing. Then she gave a small, genuine smile. "Of course not, come in." The apartment was small, a living room that opened straight into the kitchen, 2 doors leading to the bedrooms. Everything was very clean, but you could tell the furniture was old. The sofa had patches. The table had deep scratches. But there were drawings from the girls taped to the refrigerator, colorful cushions on the sofa, and the smell of baking cake in the air. It was simple, but it was home. James stood awkwardly in the middle of the room, unsure where to put the bags. "You can put them there." Lauren pointed to the table. "Now sit down. Make yourself comfortable." Chloe and Hannah were already surrounding him, curious. "What did you bring?" James knelt down to their level. "Shall we see?" He opened the first bag and pulled out the rag doll. Hannah's light eyes widened. "For me?" "For you." The girl hugged the doll so tightly that James thought she might suffocate the toy. Then she ran around the room, showing it to her mother, her sister, the furniture. "Look, Mommy, she has real hair." "That's lovely, sweetie," Lauren said, but her eyes were on James. Chloe waited, anxious. James pulled out the building block set. "And this is for you." The girl took the box carefully, as if it was something precious. "Oh, really? Really?" She opened the set right there on the floor of the living room and started spreading the pieces out. James looked at Lauren, silently asking permission. She nodded yes. He sat on the floor next to Chloe. "Can I help you?" "Yes." Lauren leaned against the kitchen wall, watching. There was something strange about that scene. A 50-year-old man sitting on the floor, building a tower of colorful blocks with a 5-year-old girl. He didn't look uncomfortable. He didn't look like he was doing it out of obligation. He looked happy. Hannah soon joined them, setting her doll aside to help or hinder, depending on the perspective. She knocked the pieces over constantly, but James didn't mind. He just laughed and started over. "Pay attention, Hannah," Chloe complained, but without anger. "You can't knock it down." "But I'm helping." "You're helping wrong." James smiled. "There's no wrong way to play." Chloe thought about that for a moment, then she shrugged. "Okay. But next time, let me put that piece on." Lauren made tea and put a plate of cookies on the low coffee table. She sat on the sofa, just observing. James seemed like a different person here, lighter, more present, as if he had taken off an invisible armor he carried all the time. The sleeves of his shirt were dusted with floor dust. His grey hair was messy because Hannah had accidentally run her hand through it, and he didn't care. They built towers, they made bridges. Chloe wanted to make a castle, but there weren't enough blocks, so they improvised with cushions. "It needs a big door," Chloe explained, very seriously, "for the carriage to go through." "That makes sense," James agreed, adjusting a yellow cushion. "And windows. 3 windows, 1 for each princess." Hannah raised her hand. "I'm a princess." "You're the little princess," Chloe declared. "I'm the medium princess, and Mommy is the big princess." Lauren laughed from the sofa. "Thanks for the promotion." James smiled, but something inside him tightened. There was so much affection in that small space, so much genuine love. It was like being near a fire after spending years in the cold. "And the castle needs a pool," Hannah announced. Chloe frowned. "Castles don't have pool." "Mine does." "No, it doesn't." "Yes, it does," James intervened before the argument could escalate. "How about we make a lake? Lakes are near castles." The two thought about it, then they agreed. They used an old blue plastic tray Lauren had in the kitchen. It was perfect. At some point, Hannah spotted a small box of glitter on the shelf. Before anyone could stop her, she opened it and threw it all into the air. "Hannah!" Lauren stood up, but it was too late. Glitter rained down on everyone, on James and Hare, on his shirt, on the floor, on the sofa, on the game pieces, everywhere. There was a second of silence. Then James started to laugh. He laughed so hard he had to brace his hands on the floor. Chloe started laughing too. Hannah, not quite understanding what she had done, laughed because everyone else was laughing. Lauren sighed, but couldn't hold back a smile. "That's going to be here for weeks." "I'm sorry," James said, still laughing. "But you have to admit it looks pretty." And it did. The golden glitter sparkled under the faint light of the room, as if it had snowed stars. Lauren grabbed a broom but gave up after realizing the glitter only spread more. James tried to help, but it was useless. "I guess we'll have to live with it," she said, tossing the broom aside. "It could be worse." "How?" "It could have been paint." Lauren laughed. He was right. They played until the sun began to set. James helped the girls put the toys away. Chloe insisted that the castle stay built. "Just for today," Lauren conceded. "We'll take it apart tomorrow." Lauren made simple sandwiches for dinner, cheese, ham and tomato. The girls ate at the low living room table, still chatting about the castle they had built. "And tomorrow we'll make the garden," Chloe planned, "with flowers and trees." "And unicorns," Hannah completed. "Unicorns aren't real." "They are too. In my castle, they are." James sat on the sofa, accepting the plate Lauren offered. "Thank you for letting me stay. Thank you for coming, they loved it." "I did too." Lauren sat beside him, tired but peaceful. She watched her daughters eating and talking to each other, creating endless stories. "You're good with them," she said. "I don't know if I'm good, but I like being here." She looked at him sideways. "Why?" James thought before answering. "Because it's been a long time since I felt useful. It's been a long time since I felt like I mattered to someone." Lauren didn't say anything, but she understood. After dinner, the girls took a bath and put on pajamas. Lauren read a story to them, sitting on the edge of Chloe's bed while Hannah snuggled up on the other side. It was a book about a fox making friends in the forest. James stood in the doorway of the room, just watching. The whole scene seemed like something from another world, something he had never experienced. Lauren's gentle voice reading, the girls' questions, the way they yawned, fighting sleep. When the girls finally fell asleep, Lauren returned to the living room. James was still there, sitting on the sofa, looking out the small window. "Would you like more tea?" she offered. "I would." She prepared 2 mugs and came back. They sat in silence for a few minutes, just listening to the distant sounds of the city, cars passing, muffled voices from neighbors, the wind rattling the window. The glitter still sparkled on the floor, even in the dim light. "Can I tell you something?" James asked suddenly. Lauren turned to him. "Of course." He took a deep breath, as if preparing to jump from a high place. "I've always lived alone, not because I wanted to, but because I never knew how to do anything else. My parents died when I was young. I had no siblings, no close family. I was raised by aunts and uncles who didn't want me there, so I learned not to take up space." Lauren listened without interrupting. "I grew up believing that I was the problem, that there was something wrong with me, that people didn't stay because I wasn't interesting enough or warm enough or whatever." "Enough!" He paused, looking at the mug in his hands. "So I stopped trying. I lived my whole life surrounded by silence, even when people were around, even when I was in crowded places. It was always silence." He stopped talking for a moment. Lauren waited. "The holidays were the worst," James continued, his voice lower. "Christmas, New Year's, birthdays. Everyone celebrates with someone, and I was alone. I tried to ignore it. I tried to pretend it didn't matter. But it did. It mattered so much it hurt." Lauren felt something clench in her chest. "One year I bought a birthday cake for myself," he said with a sad smile. "I lit the candles, sang Happy Birthday alone, and then threw the cake away because I couldn't eat it. It was ridiculous." "It wasn't ridiculous," Lauren said softly. "It was sad," he corrected. "But I didn't know how to do anything else. I didn't know how to change." He finally looked at her. "And then I met you that night at the restaurant, and suddenly everything changed. I can't quite explain it. But being with you, it's like I woke up. Like I finally found something that had always been missing." He shook his head, almost embarrassed. "I'm sorry. It must sound strange. A 50-year-old man appearing out of nowhere, saying these things." Lauren was quiet for a long moment. Then she put her mug on the table and turned to him. "It doesn't sound strange." James looked at her, surprised. "It doesn't." "No, it sounds honest." She crossed her legs on the sofa, facing him. "I've also lived surrounded by silence, not the same way you have, but in my own way. Their father left when Hannah was born. Said he wasn't ready, that it was too heavy, that he needed space. And he left me alone with 2 small children and no support." She looked at her own hands. "My family lives far away. I don't have many friends. I work, I take care of them, I come home. It's always the same routine, and I love my daughters more than anything. But some days it's lonely. Some days I wish I had someone to share things with. Someone who understood." James nodded slowly. "And you understand," Lauren said. "I don't know how, but you understand." They sat there, on the old sofa, in the dim light of the living room. The glitter still sparkled on the floor. The toys were put away in the corner. The girls were sleeping in the next room. "Thank you for letting me in," James said, his voice heavy with emotion. Lauren didn't respond with words. She just reached out and touched his arm, a light touch, but firm, a touch that said, "You are not alone, not anymore," and that was enough. James closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of years of loneliness finally beginning to lift. It didn't disappear, but it felt lighter, because for the first time in his life, a home welcomed him. Not because he had money, not because he could offer something in return, but simply because he was there, present, real, mattering, and that changed everything. They stayed up late talking, about small things, about how hard it is to start over when everything seems lost, about fears no one else saw, about small but stubborn hopes. Lauren talked about a job interview she had the following week. James asked for details, genuinely interested. She spoke about her doubts, about the fear of not being good enough. "You are good enough," he said. "Anyone with eyes can see that." Lauren smiled, but there was insecurity there. "I hope you're right." "I am." When James finally stood up to leave, it was past midnight. Lauren walked him to the door. "You can come back," she said, "whenever you want." James smiled, a tired but genuine smile. "I will." And he knew he would, because he had found something he never knew he was looking for. A place to belong. Lauren closed the door slowly and leaned against it for a moment. She looked at the messy living room, at the scattered glitter, at the makeshift castle the girls had built with James, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. The invitation came 3 days before New Year's Eve. James called Lauren on a cold morning. She was in the kitchen, trying to make the monthly budget work. When she saw his name on the screen, she answered immediately. "Hi, James. Hi, I wanted to invite you, you and the girls." Lauren held the phone against her shoulder while stirring her coffee. "What kind of invitation?" "Well, New Year's Eve. I thought you might want to spend it with me, at my apartment. The view is good, you can see the fireworks, and it would be nice to have you there." Lauren stopped what she was doing. "James, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to, but I want to. Please." She thought about it. She didn't have plans. She never did. She usually stayed home with the girls, watched the fireworks on TV, and went to bed shortly after midnight. "All right, we'll come." She could hear the smile in his voice. "Great. I'll pick you up at 7. "That works." When she hung up, Chloe was already standing in the kitchen doorway. "Where are we going?" Lauren knelt down to her daughter's height. "To James' apartment for New Year's Eve." Chloe gave a little shriek. "Does he live in a cool place?" "I don't know. But we're about to find out." Hannah appeared soon after, sleepy, dragging the rag doll James had given her. "Are we going to see James?" "Yes." The girl smiled and hugged the doll tighter. On the 31st, James arrived promptly at 7. He wore a dark coat and carried a bag full of things. Lauren opened the door with the girls already ready. Chloe had chosen a blue dress. Hannah wore pink star pajamas. "You look beautiful," James said. "Thank you," Chloe replied, very serious. "Mommy did our hair." Lauren had tied the girls' blonde hair back with sparkly clips. She herself was simple but neat. "Jeans, a white shirt, an old but clean coat. Shall we go?" James asked. They went down the stairs and got into his car. It was a normal car, nothing flashy. The girls went into the back seat, already chatting non-stop. James' apartment was on the other side of the city. Lauren looked out the window as he drove. The snow was beginning to fall lightly, covering the streets. "Is it far?" she asked. "About 20 minutes." They drove in comfortable silence. The girls sang in the back seat, making up songs that didn't make sense. When they arrived, Lauren looked at the building and blinked. It was tall, very tall, glass and concrete, modern and elegant. The doorman opened the door for them with a polite nod. "Good evening, Mrs. Wilson." "Good evening, Robert." They got into the elevator. James pressed the button for the top floor, penthouse. Lauren looked at him, but didn't say anything. She just held the girls' hands tighter. When the doors opened, they stepped right into the apartment. There was no hallway. The elevator opened into the living room, and what a room it was, spacious, with huge floor-to-ceiling windows. The view showed the entire city, lit up and sparkling. Chloe and Hannah ran to the glass, pressing their faces against it. "Mommy, look, you can see everything." Lauren stood still, taking it in. The place was beautiful, clean, but also empty. There was little furniture, few personal items. It looked more like a hotel than a home. James noticed her expression. "I know, it's too big for one person, but the view is good." "It's beautiful," Lauren said, sincerely. He smiled, relieved. "Come on, let me show you." A table was already set in the living room, nothing extravagant. Sandwiches, fruit, juice, a simple cake. James had prepared everything. You must be hungry. The girls ate while they talked. James put on quiet music. Lauren helped serve, feeling strange in a space so different from her own. Do you live here alone? She asked. I do. Always have. It must be lonely. James looked around as if seeing the place through her eyes. It is, but not today. After they ate, James opened the balcony doors. The cold wind rushed in, but he had already placed blankets and cushions on the chairs. There was even an outdoor heater on. We'll watch the fireworks from here. Chloe and Hannah ran out. Lauren followed them, pulling their coats tighter. The view from the balcony was even more beautiful. You could see the entire city preparing for the countdown. James brought hot chocolate for everyone. They sat in the chairs, covered, warm, looking at the lights below. How much longer? Chloe asked. James checked his watch. 1 hour. That's a long time. It'll go fast. And it did. They talked, laughed, told stories. Hannah almost fell asleep, but Chloe nudged her to stay awake. You can't sleep. You'll miss the fireworks. At 11:30, the snow began to fall harder, thick white flakes that covered everything. Lauren looked at the sky, worried. It's getting heavy. It is, James agreed. The roads will be bad. Lauren felt her stomach clench. She didn't want to drive back in the snow with the girls, but she also didn't want to overstay her welcome. James seemed to read her thoughts. You can stay. James, I prepared a room for you in case you wanted to stay. Lauren looked at him, surprised. You prepared one? Yes. There's a double bed and a twin bed. Clean linens. Everything you need. But please, he said, and there was something vulnerable in his voice. I want you to stay. I want to wake up on New Year's Day knowing I'm not alone. Lauren was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. All right, we'll stay. The smile James gave was the most genuine she had ever seen. At 11:50, the city began to stir. They went back out to the balcony, now standing, looking at the horizon. 2 minutes left, Chloe shouted. James picked up Hannah so she could see better. The girl leaned her head on his shoulder, sleepy but awake. Lauren stood beside them, with Chloe holding her hand. When the clock struck midnight, the city exploded with light. Fireworks shot up from all directions. Red, gold, green, blue. The entire sky shone. Chloe screamed with joy. Hannah clapped her hands. Lauren smiled, with tears in her eyes that were not from sadness. James looked at her. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, she replied. And for the first time in a long time, Lauren believed it would be. After the fireworks, James showed them the room. It was simple but cozy. The double bed had clean white sheets. The twin bed had a fluffy blanket. There were folded towels on the dresser. Do you need anything else? No, it's perfect. The girls were already jumping on the twin bed, laughing. Can we sleep right here? Chloe asked. You can, Lauren said. But you have to brush your teeth first. James left the door ajar and returned to the living room. Lauren followed him, leaving the girls to get ready. Thank you, she said, for everything. You don't need to thank me. I do. You've done so much for us, and we barely know you. James leaned against the window, looking at the snow that was still falling. Don't I feel like I've known you my whole life? Lauren stood next to him. Me too. They stood there, side by side, watching the city calm down. The fireworks had stopped. People were going home. But there, in that high, silent apartment, there was something new. There was hope. Lauren looked at her reflection in the glass. She saw a tired woman, but not defeated. A mother who fought, but was no longer alone. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of the future, because she knew that no matter what came, she wouldn't face it alone. James showed up on a Saturday afternoon with 3 bags full of groceries. Lauren opened the door and stood still, looking at the bags. James, what is this? Things, he said, a little embarrassed. I was at the store and thought of you. You didn't have to. I know, but I wanted to. She sighed, but made room for him to enter. Chloe and Hannah were in the living room, drawing on the floor. When they saw James, they dropped their pencils and ran. James! He put the bags down before they could knock him over. Hannah hugged his leg. Chloe pulled his hand, her light eyes shining. "Come see what we drew." Lauren took the bags to the kitchen while James sat on the living room floor with the girls. Drawings were scattered everywhere, crooked houses, huge trees, suns with smiley faces. "This one is me," Hannah pointed to a round figure with yellow hair. "That's great," James said. "And this one? That's you?" Chloe showed a tall figure with grey hair. He was holding hands with 3 smaller figures. James felt something clench in his chest. He was in their drawings. He was part of their world now. "Can I keep it?" "You can." Hannah was already grabbing another piece of paper. "I'm going to make another one for you." In the kitchen, Lauren put the groceries away slowly. Milk, bread, eggs, fruit, rice, beans, pasta. Basic, but necessary things. Things she needed, but that cost a lot when added up. There was even chocolate, the good kind. She leaned her hands on the counter and took a deep breath. James was doing too much, but he was also being careful. He didn't rub the money in her face. He didn't make it look like charity. He just helped. She went back to the living room. The girls were still drawing. James had a pencil in his hand, trying to draw a tree that looked more like a crooked mushroom. "That's not a tree," Chloe laughed. "It is. Just different. It's ugly." "Chloe!" Lauren scolded. James just laughed. "She's right. It is ugly. I was never good at drawing." "That's okay," Hannah said, serious. "We'll teach you." And they did. They spent half an hour showing him how to make clouds, flowers, people that didn't look like sticks. James tried, messed up, laughed. Later, when the girls went to play in the room, Lauren made coffee. She and James sat on the small balcony of the apartment. It was just a narrow space with 2 old chairs, but you could see the street. The sky was grey. It looked like it was going to snow again. "Thank you for the groceries," Lauren said. "Oh, you're welcome." They sat in silence for a moment. A comfortable silence. A car passed on the street. A child shouted while playing somewhere nearby. James stirred his coffee, thinking there was something he wanted to ask for weeks, but he didn't know if he had the right. "Can I ask you a question?" he finally said. "Of course." "The girl's father, is he still part of their lives?" Lauren was quiet. She looked at the street, at the passing cars, at the bare trees. "No, he left when Hannah was born." James waited. He knew there was more. "We dated for 3 years, Lauren continued, her voice steady but distant. "He was nice, fun. He made me laugh. But when Chloe was born, things changed. He started complaining about everything. Her crying, the sleepless nights, the money we spent. But I thought it was just a phase, you know, that it would get better." She took a sip of coffee. "Then I got pregnant again. It wasn't planned. When I told him, he went white, said he wasn't ready, that it was too soon. I said we could handle it, like we did with Chloe, but he didn't even want to try." James gripped the cup in his hands. "Hannah was born on a rainy day. The thunder was loud. I called him from the hospital, said the baby had arrived, that everything was fine, that she was beautiful. He said he'd come, but he never showed up." Her voice didn't shake. It was as if she were telling someone else's story. 2 days later, I came home with Hannah in my arms and Chloe holding my hand. He had taken his things, left a note on the table saying he couldn't do it, that he needed to live his life, that we were too much of a burden, that he was sorry. She stopped, looking down at her coffee. "He sent money for a few months, always late, always less than he promised. Then he stopped, moved out of town, blocked my number, disappeared, and that was it. Hannah never met her father. Chloe barely remembers him." James looked at her. There was so much strength in that woman, so much courage. "He didn't know what he was missing," James said, and his voice was charged with emotion. Lauren looked at him, surprised by the intensity. "Those girls are incredible, smart, funny, full of life. And you're an incredible mother. You do everything alone and you still manage to make them happy. Anyone would be lucky to be part of this family." He was an idiot to walk away. Lauren felt her eyes sting. No one had ever said that to her. People usually looked sorry or changed the subject, but not James. James saw her. He saw them. "Thank you," she said, and the word came out small. James took a deep breath. "I don't want to take his place. I want you to know that I'm not here to be their father or to replace someone. I just want to be here, in my own way, if you'll let me." Lauren nodded slowly. "I know. I see that in you." "You do?" "Yes. You don't try to force anything. You don't try to rush anything. You just are, and that's rare. Most people want something in return, but you don't. You just want to belong, and that's special." They sat there until the cold got too intense. Then they went back inside, where the girls were building a tower with blocks. In the following days, James began to show up more often, but always respectful. He called first, asked if he could come over. Never just showed up unannounced. On one of those visits, he brought something different, a piece of information. "I have a friend who owns a store," he told Lauren. "Office supplies. He's looking for a cashier. Fixed hours, decent salary. I thought of you." Lauren looked at him, her heart racing. "James, it's not a favor. He genuinely needs someone. And you're perfect for it. Organized, responsible, good with people. I just mentioned your name. The rest is up to you. You'll do the interview, you'll get the job." Lauren felt hope grow in her chest, that fragile, stubborn thing. "You would do that for me." "I already did. You just need to call him." She called him the next day. Her hands were shaking. She scheduled an interview for Tuesday. She wore the best outfit she had in her closet. Black pants, white shirt. She printed her resume at a library. The store owner was an older man with an easy smile. His name was Marcus. He asked simple questions. Lauren answered honestly. She talked about her daughters, about losing her job, about wanting to start over. He hired her on the spot. "When can you start?" "Whenever you want, sir. Next Monday." Perfect. When Lauren left the store, she stopped on the sidewalk and cried. Not out of sadness, out of relief, out of gratitude, out of hope, turning into something real. She called James. "I got it. I knew you would. Thank you. For everything. You deserve it, Lauren. You and the girls deserve good things." The job started the following Monday. The girls stayed at daycare while Lauren worked. James offered to pick them up when Lauren couldn't. She hesitated at first, but he was so natural about it that she accepted. He would pick up Chloe and Hannah from daycare. The two would run to him screaming. He would hold one in each hand and take them both to the park. He pushed them on the swings. They ran on the grass. He bought popcorn from a vendor, and they ate it sitting on a bench, watching the birds. "Look at that one," Hannah pointed. "That's a sparrow," James said. "I'm going to call him Bob." "Bob is a great name for a sparrow," Chloe laughed. "Sparrows don't have names." "Mine does," Hannah insisted. Other times, when Lauren came home tired, James was already there. He had picked up the girls, given them a snack, helped Chloe with her homework. "You don't have to do this," Lauren would say. "I know. But I like it." And it was true. For the first time in his life, James had a routine that wasn't empty. He had people waiting for him. He had purpose. On a sunny Saturday, they all went to the park together. Lauren brought sandwiches. James brought juice and fruit. The girls ran ahead, their blonde hair flying. They sat on the grass. Chloe and Hannah chased butterflies. James and Lauren watched them sitting side by side. "They're happy," James said. "They are. Thanks to you too." "It's not thanks to me. It's thanks to you. You're the one who raised them this way." Lauren smiled, but there was tiredness there. "Some days are harder than others. Some days I wake up and don't know how I'll manage. You're a great mother. I don't always feel like I am, but you are. Look at them. That's all you." Lauren was quiet for a moment. "But now it's easier, because you're here, because it's not just me anymore." James looked at her. "I'll keep being here, for as long as you want me to." "What if I want forever?" He smiled. "Then it's forever." The weeks passed. January turned into February. February turned into March. James became part of the routine so naturally that sometimes Lauren forgot what it was like before him. He was there on the difficult mornings, when Lauren needed to leave early. He was there in the afternoons, picking up the girls. He was there on weekends, with trips to the park, reading afternoons, laughter, but he never forced it, never pressured. He just was. On a rainy afternoon, he took the girls to the library. They sat at a small table and picked out books. James read with funny voices, changing his tone for each character. Chloe laughed so hard she had to hold her stomach. Hannah asked him to read it again. "One more time," she said, her light eyes shining. "We've already read it 3 times. One more?" And he read it, because he couldn't say no. When they came home soaked, Lauren was already there. She hugged the wet girls, grabbed towels. They told her everything, talking at the same time. And James did a dragon voice, and we got 5 books. And there was a lady who gave us stickers. Lauren looked at James over the girls' blonde heads. He was leaning against the wall, just watching. There was peace on his face. She understood. James didn't want to be a hero. He didn't want applause. He didn't want things to be about him. He just wanted to belong, and he did belong. Not because he forced it, not because he bought his way in, but because he was there. Every day, present, constant, real. At night, after the girls were asleep, Lauren and James sat in the living room. She talked about her day at work. He talked about a book he was reading. Simple conversations, the kind of conversations people who care about each other have. "Thank you," Lauren said suddenly. "For what?" "For being you, for being here without asking for anything in return." James was quiet. "I do get something in return, don't you see? I get you. I get this here, this house, this laughter, this good noise. I get the chance to be part of something real, and that is worth more than anything." Lauren felt her eyes sting. "We're lucky to have you." "No, I'm the lucky one. I spent 50 years alone, and now I'm not." And he was lucky, because for the first time in his life, James had something that money had never bought. He had a family, not by blood, but by choice, by presence, by genuine affection. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into routine. James kept showing up, kept helping, kept being there, without pressure, without demands, without expecting anything beyond being accepted. And in the silence of those afternoons, in those simple outings, in those shared laughs, something was being built, something rare, something precious, a family that chose to be a family. The routine was established in the following months. James picked up the girls from daycare 3 times a week. Lauren worked peacefully, knowing they were safe. On weekends, they did simple things together. Park, library, walks around the neighborhood. There was no rush. There were no heavy expectations. Just the constant presence of one another. Chloe started calling him by his name without hesitation. Hannah held his hand naturally. Lauren smiled more, laughed more, slept better at night. And James, for the first time in 5 decades, woke up every day with something to look forward to. Not just another empty day, but a day with purpose. With people who cared if he was okay, who missed him when he didn't show up. On a Sunday in April, they were in the apartment's small backyard. The girls were planting flowers in old pots. James helped put the soil in. Lauren watered. "Are these going to grow?" Chloe asked. "If we take good care of them, yes," James said. "What if we forget? Then we'll remember again. And take better care." Hannah spilled dirt on his shirt. "Oops," Lauren laughed. "It's okay, we'll wash it." James looked around, at the simple yard, at the girls covered in dirt, at Lauren with the old watering can in her hand, at that ordinary, imperfect, real life, and he realized that was exactly where he wanted to be. Not in a big place, not somewhere impressive, but right there, with them, being part of it, belonging. Finally home. It was an ordinary Saturday when James showed up with a brown envelope in his hands. Lauren was in the kitchen preparing lunch. The girls were playing in the living room, building castles with blocks. The sound of their laughter filled the small apartment. "Hi," she said when she opened the door. "Don, I didn't know you were coming today. I called, but you didn't answer." "Oh, sorry, my phone's dead." James walked in, holding the envelope against his chest. There was something different about him, a tension, an anxiety that Lauren didn't recognize. "Is everything okay?" she asked. It is, I need to show you something. Chloe and Hannah ran to him. James knelt down, hugged them both, but seemed distracted. Can I talk to your mom for a minute? He asked them. Then we'll play, I promise. Okay, Chloe agreed. But don't take too long. They went back to the living room. James followed Lauren to the kitchen. She turned off the stove and turned to him. What happened? He placed the envelope on the table. Open it. Lauren looked at the envelope, then at him. There was fear in her eyes, fear of the unknown, of unfulfilled promises, of hopes that collapse. James, what is this? Open it, please. She took the envelope with shaking hands, opened it slowly. Inside were folded papers and a handwritten letter. She unfolded the papers first. They were legal documents. Deed property transfer, and her name, Lauren Martinez, as the sole owner. She read it twice, 3 times, without understanding. What is this? James leaned against the counter, his hands in his pockets. It's an apartment, small but decent. 2 bedrooms and living room, kitchen. It's in a good neighborhood, close to schools. It has a backyard. The girls will like it. Lauren looked at the papers, then at him, then at the papers again. James, it's in your name. It's yours. No mortgage, no debt, nothing. It's completely yours. She shook her head, unable to process it. I can't accept this. You can. I can't. It's too much. It's what you deserve, he interrupted, his voice firm. You and the girls deserve a place that is yours, that no one can take away, where you are safe. Lauren felt the tears starting to form. Why are you doing this? James picked up the letter that was still on the table and handed it to her. Read it, please. Lauren unfolded the letter with trembling fingers. The handwriting was slanted, careful. The writing of someone who had thought a lot before writing each word. Lauren, I spent 50 years of my life alone. Not because there were no people around, but because I could never connect. I could never feel like I mattered, that I made a difference, that my presence changed anything. And then on a Christmas Eve, at a restaurant table, I found you. You don't know what that night did for me. Seeing you with your daughters, sharing the little you had, smiling despite everything, seeing the way you take care of them, how you make the impossible seem possible. Something inside me woke up. In the months since then, you have changed my life in ways I can't even properly explain. I wake up every day knowing I have a purpose, that I have people who care about me, that I'm not just another face in the crowd. You gave me a family, not by blood, but by choice, and that is the most precious thing anyone has ever given me. I know you're proud. I know you don't want to accept help, but this isn't charity. It's gratitude. It's recognition. It's me trying to repay a fraction of what you've given me. Accept this gift, not for me, but for you and the girls. You deserve stability. You deserve a place to call home, a place that is only yours. With all my affection and gratitude, James Lauren finished reading, and the tears were already streaming down her face. She tried to wipe them away, but they kept coming. James, I don't know what to say. He took a step forward. You don't have to say anything, just accept it. It's too much. You've already done so much, and I want to keep doing it. I want to be in your lives. I want to watch the girls grow up. I want to be there when Chloe loses her first tooth, when Hannah learns to read. I want to be a part of it. Lauren put her hand over her mouth, trying to control her sobs. You don't understand. No one has ever done anything like this for me. No one has ever stayed. Everyone leaves. I won't. How can you be sure? James held her shoulders, gentle but firm. Because for the first time in my life, I have something worth staying for. I have you, and I won't throw that away. Never. Lauren broke down. She hugged James and cried on his shoulder. She cried for all the years of fighting alone. She cried for the constant fear of not being able to manage. She cried for the relief of finally having someone by her side. And she cried out of gratitude for this man who appeared out of nowhere and changed everything. James hugged her back, letting her cry. He didn't say anything. He just held her. When Lauren finally calmed down, she pulled away, wiping her face. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You don't need to apologize. She looked at the papers on the table, at those words that said she owned something, that she had something no one could take away. Now I'm really not alone, she said, her voice breaking. You never were. Not since we met. Lauren smiled through her tears. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you. They stood there for a few more minutes, just breathing. Then Lauren washed her face, and they went back to the living room. The girls were still playing, oblivious to what had just happened. Can we play now? Hannah asked. We can, James said, sitting on the floor. The rest of the afternoon passed in normality, playing, laughing, a simple lunch. But there was something different in the air, a lightness, a certainty. When the sun began to set, James suggested sitting on the balcony. Lauren agreed. The girls were drawing in the living room, quiet for the moment. They sat on the old chairs. The sky was pink and orange. The wind was cold but bearable. James was quiet for a while, then he spoke, his voice low. I always wanted a family. Lauren looked at him. Always, even when you were young. Always, but I thought it wasn't for me. I thought I wasn't the type of person who could have that. That there was something wrong with me that made people leave. He paused, looking at the horizon. But with you, my heart opened again, in a way I didn't even know was possible, and now I know the problem was never me. It's just that I hadn't found the right people yet. He turned to her. I don't want to live alone anymore. I don't want to spend my days in silence. I want noise, I want laughter. I want to be part of the beautiful mess that is your life. Lauren felt her eyes sting again, but this time she smiled. And you're not alone. Not anymore. We're here, and we're not going anywhere. James smiled too, a shaky smile, full of emotion. At that moment, Chloe appeared in the doorway to the balcony. She held a drawing in her hand. Look what I made. It was a drawing of 4 people. 1 tall, 1 medium, 2 small, all holding hands. At the top, in crooked letters, was written, My family. That's beautiful, sweetie, Lauren said. It's us, Chloe explained. Me, Hannah, Mommy, and... She paused, looking at James. And Grandpa. The world stopped. James blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. What? Chloe pointed to the tall figure in the drawing. You... Grandpa James. Hannah appeared behind her sister. Can I call you Grandpa too? James tried to speak, but couldn't. The words caught in his throat. He looked at Lauren, seeking confirmation, permission, something. She had tears in her eyes too, but she was smiling. If you want to, she said softly. If you don't mind. James looked at the girls, at those small blonde faces, those light eyes full of innocence and love, at those children who had chosen him, who had accepted him into their lives without reservations, and he couldn't hold it back. The tears came. Silent, heavy, charged with 50 years of loneliness finally ending. He knelt down, opening his arms. Chloe and Hannah ran to him. He hugged them tight, burying his face in their soft hair. Grandpa, Hannah said, testing the word. I like it. It's pretty. Do you like it? Chloe asked, concerned. Is everything okay? James pulled back a little, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. It's all right. It's more than all right. It's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever called me. So, we can call you that? You can. You can always... The girls smiled and ran back inside, already forgetting the seriousness of the moment, returning to their world of games and drawings. James stayed there, kneeling on the balcony. Lauren knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Are you okay? He shook his head, laughing through the tears. I don't know. I guess so. It's a lot. I know. They called me Grandpa. They did. I never thought. You deserve it. You deserve every second of it. James looked at her. There was so much in his eyes. Gratitude, love, belonging, things he had never felt before. Thank you, he said, for letting me be part of this, for accepting me. You don't need to thank me. We're a family now. Families don't thank each other for existing, they just exist. Family. That word echoed inside him. It filled the empty spaces. It healed the old wounds. He had a family. It wasn't the family he had imagined when he was young. It wasn't his own blood, but it was real. It was chosen. It was pure and simple love. And it was his. They went back inside. The girls were already arguing over a pencil. Lauren separated the two with infinite patience. James sat on the sofa, just watching. Watching his family, his home, his place in the world. At night, when he left, the girls hugged him at the door. "Bye, Grandpa. Come back tomorrow." He promised he would return, and he did return. And he kept returning, every day, because now he had somewhere to return to. He had a purpose. He had a reason. He had a family. And for the first time in 50 years, James Wilson was not alone. He was home. The months passed, and James became part of the routine so naturally that it was hard to remember what it was like before him. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he picked up the girls from school. He arrived 15 minutes before dismissal, leaning against his car, waiting. Other parents knew him now. They waved, asked how he was doing. "Is your grandson going to Emma's party?" one mother asked once. "Granddaughters," James corrected, smiling. "And yes, if they're invited." When the bell rang, the children rushed out. Chloe always came running, her backpack bouncing on her back. Hannah was right behind, stumbling over her own feet. "Grandpa!" They hugged him at the same time. He took their backpacks, checked if they had drunk water, if they had eaten their snack. "How was school today?" "The teacher let me be the helper," Chloe recounted, excited. "And I painted a sun." Hannah showed her hands still smeared with yellow paint. On the way home, they told him everything. Who had argued at recess, who had cried, who had earned a star for good behavior. James listened to it all, asked questions, was genuinely interested. When they got home, he prepared snacks. Nothing elaborate, sandwiches, cut fruit, juice, but made with care, with attention. "Grandpa, can you cut the crusts off?" Chloe always asked. "I can." "And I want my apple shaped like a heart," Hannah would say. James tried to make heart shapes. It was never perfect, but they accepted it anyway. After the snack came homework. Chloe already had homework. Words to copy, numbers to learn, drawings to make. James sat next to her at the small kitchen table. "Is this one right?" she asked. "It is, but the A is a little crooked. Want to try again?" She did it again. She always wanted it to be perfect. Hannah didn't have homework yet, but James set up activities for her. Coloring books, simple puzzles, drawings, so she wouldn't feel left out. Sometimes Lauren arrived while they were still doing homework. She would open the door and find James at the table, Chloe concentrating on her notebook, Hannah coloring next to her. "Hi, Mommy," the girls shouted. Lauren kissed both of them, then looked at James with silent gratitude. "Thank you." "You don't need to thank me." But she did thank him, every day, because she knew it wasn't his obligation, it was a choice, and daily choices were worth more than any promise. On Friday nights, James read bedtime stories. It was tradition now. He would arrive at 7 after dinner. The girls were already in their pajamas, waiting eagerly. "Which story today?" he would ask. "The one about the princess?" Hannah always chose the same one. "Again," Chloe complained. "We've read it 1,000 times." "But I like it," James read, with different voices for each character, with suspense at the right moments, with softness in the calm parts. The girls would cling to him, one on each side, listening to every word. When he finished, Hannah was already almost asleep. "One more," she mumbled. "Tomorrow," James said, kissing her forehead. He tucked them both in, turned off the light, left the door ajar the way they liked it. Lauren always waited in the living room. They drank tea together, talked about the day. Not about deep things, just about life, about how Chloe was improving her reading, about how Hannah was afraid of big dogs, about weekend plans, simple conversations, but they meant everything. When Chloe's birthday arrived in May, James was the first to show up. He brought balloons, a cake he had ordered from a bakery, and a present wrapped in colorful paper. The party was small. A few kids from school, some neighbors, in the backyard of the new apartment, the one James had given them. Lauren had decorated with the little she had, paper streamers, a checkered tablecloth on the table, flowers in glass bottles. James helped serve. He cut the cake, handed out the slices, poured juice, not as a guest, but as part of the organizing, as family. When it was time to sing Happy Birthday, Chloe was surrounded by lit candles. Her light eyes sparkled, reflecting the light. She looked around, at her friends, at her mother, at James. "Make a wish, sweetie," Lauren said. Chloe closed her eyes. Then she blew out all the candles at once. Everyone clapped. "What did you wish for?" Hannah asked. "I can't tell, or it won't come true." But she looked at James when she said it, and he understood. She had wished for him to stay, for him never to leave, and he wouldn't. In June, it was Hannah's turn to turn 3. Another small party, another happy afternoon. James was there again. He always would be. Lauren watched him interacting with the girls, the way he knelt down to be at their level, how he listened to every word with attention, how he was never rushed or impatient. "You're too good to them," she said, one ordinary afternoon. They were in the kitchen. James was washing dishes while Lauren dried. "There's no such thing as too good," he replied. "There's just being present. That's all I do. But you do it every day without fail. Because I want to. It's not a sacrifice. It's a choice." Lauren stopped drying the plate, looking at him. "You know they love you, right?" James was quiet for a moment. "I know, and I love them too. Love more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. They're lucky to have you. No, I'm the lucky one to have you." And it was true. Because for the first time, James had something that money had never bought. He had constancy. He had purpose. He had people who waited for him, who missed him when he wasn't around. He had a role, not as a savior, not as a hero, but as a presence, as a safe harbor, as someone who was always there. Grandpa James. The weeks turned into months. Summer arrived. They had picnics in the park, went to the zoo, ate ice cream on hot afternoons. Simple things, but things that built memories. On a July afternoon, Chloe fell at the park. She scraped her knee, started to cry. Lauren was on the other side of the park with Hannah. James was the one who got there first. "Let me see," he said, kneeling down. "It hurts." "I know, little one, but let's clean it up, okay?" He had wipes in the backpack he always carried now. He cleaned the scrape carefully. Chloe cried, but let him take care of it. "There. It'll heal quickly. You promise?" "I promise." She hugged him. Right there in the middle of the park with a scraped knee and tears on her face. And James felt something tighten in his chest because she trusted him completely, without reservations. He was her safe harbor, the place where she knew she would always be protected. At the end of the summer, on a warm August night, they were all on the apartment balcony. The girls were already sleeping inside. Lauren and James stayed outside, listening to the crickets. "It's been quite a year," Lauren said. "It has. I never imagined my life would turn out like this, that we would have all of this." James looked up at the starry sky. "Me neither. But I can't imagine going back to the way it was before." "You won't go back, not if we can help it," he smiled. "Then I won't, because you can help it." Lauren leaned her head on his shoulder, a simple gesture, but full of meaning. Trust, acceptance, family. "Thank you for staying," she said. "Thank you for letting me." And that was it. No formality. No signed papers. No grandiose promises. Just the constancy of showing up every day, of being present, of being a part. James wasn't the girl's father. He never tried to be. But he was Grandpa. He was the man who picked them up from school, who read them stories, who cleaned scraped knees, who was there, always. And for Lauren, for Chloe, for Hannah, that was everything. They didn't need anything else. They didn't need promises of eternity, because they had something better. They had today, and tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. They had constancy, they had truth, they had family, and that in the end was what mattered. A year had passed since that first night at the restaurant. James woke up on Christmas morning and looked out his apartment window. The snow was falling slowly, covering the city with a white blanket. But it wasn't the snow that made him smile. It was knowing that in a few hours he would be with them, his family. The phone rang. It was Lauren. "Good morning." "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas," he replied. "What time do you want me to arrive?" The girls woke up at 6, asking if you were coming yet, so whenever you want, James laughed. In an hour. Perfect. He got ready, grabbed the gifts he had carefully wrapped the night before, and went out into the cold. The streets were empty. Most people were home ishing with their families, and he would be too, with his... When he arrived at the apartment, the door opened before he even knocked. Chloe and Hannah were there, still in their pajamas, their blonde hair messy from sleep. Grandpa. They pulled him inside. The apartment was warm, smelling of cinnamon and something baking in the oven. Lauren appeared from the kitchen, wearing an old apron. Sorry about the mess. I'm trying to do everything at once. Don't apologize. It's lovely. And it was. The small tree in the corner of the living room glittered with colorful lights. It had ornaments made by the girls hanging on the branches. Paper stars, stick figures, colored ribbons. On the wall, drawings of Santa and reindeer. It was simple, but it was theirs, and that made all the difference. Can we open presents now? Hannah asked, jumping. After lunch, Lauren said. We agreed, remember? But that takes so long. James knelt down to her level. It'll go fast, and in the meantime, I can help your mom in the kitchen. Can you and Chloe finish setting the table? We can. We already did most of it. The girls ran to the kitchen. James followed Lauren there. She was making a small turkey, roasted potatoes, vegetables. Nothing extravagant, but made with love. Can I help? She offered. Can you peel these carrots? They worked side by side. James peeled vegetables. Lauren seasoned the turkey. The girls came and went, showing every detail of the decorations they had made. Look, Grandpa, I made this napkin. It was a paper napkin colored with markers. Flowers, hearts, stars, a little crumpled, but perfect. That's beautiful, James said, genuine. And I made candles. Hannah showed small candles they had decorated with tape and glitter. You two are artists, Chloe smiled, proud. We made a card for you too, but it's a surprise. I can't wait. While the food was baking, they sat in the living room. The girls wanted to watch a Christmas movie. They chose one about a snowman that came to life. James sat on the sofa. Chloe snuggled up on one side, Hannah on the other. Lauren sat in the armchair, watching the three of them. There was a sense of completeness in that scene, something she had never thought she would have. A family, not traditional, not perfect, but theirs. When lunch was ready, Lauren called everyone to the table. The kitchen table was small, barely fit 4 people, but they had decorated it with so much care that it looked like a feast. The white tablecloth had old stains, but it was clean. The colored napkins the girls had painted were folded next to each plate. The makeshift candles illuminated the table with a soft light, and in the middle, between the plates, there was a note made on colored paper. Crooked letters carefully written, Merry Christmas, Grandpa James. James picked up the note. Read it again. Felt his eyes sting. Did you make this? We made it together, Chloe said. I wrote and Hannah colored. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever received. Lauren served the food. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The turkey was golden. The potatoes crispy. The vegetables just right. She had done the best she could with what she had, and it was perfect. They ate slowly, savoring it. The girls chattered non-stop. They talked about what they had asked Santa for, about their school friends, about everything and nothing. James barely touched his food at first. He just watched. The way Lauren smiled at her daughters, how she wiped Hannah's mouth with a napkin, how she listened to every word Chloe said, no matter how nonsensical. Aren't you going to eat? Lauren asked. I am. I was just enjoying myself. Enjoying what? This. All of this. She understood. She didn't say anything. She just smiled. After lunch, Chloe announced that she had prepared a performance. I learned a song at school. Can I sing it? Of course, Lauren said. Chloe stood up, very serious. She cleared her throat. Then she began to sing a song about stars and dreams. Her voice was thin, a little off-key, but full of conviction. Hannah couldn't keep quiet. She stood up too and started singing along, making up words when she didn't know the lyrics. She sang loudly, without shame, completely off-key. James and Lauren clapped when they finished. The girls bowed. "That was beautiful," James said, and he was being sincere. "We rehearsed," Chloe informed him. "Well, I rehearsed," Hannah just yelled. "I didn't yell." "I sang," Lauren laughed. "You were both great." Then it was time for presents. The girls opened theirs first. James had bought books, games, clothes, practical things, but things he knew they would love. They tore the paper off with excitement, screaming with every discovery. "Thank you, Grandpa. You're welcome, little ones." Lauren opened hers more carefully. It was a soft wool scarf and a gift certificate to a bookstore. "James, you didn't have to—" "I did. I saw you shivering the other day." She hugged the scarf, touched. "Thank you." Then it was James' turn. Lauren handed him a small box. Inside was a picture frame with a photo of the four of them together. It had been taken at the park, on an ordinary day. Everyone smiling, everyone happy. "I thought you'd like to have it," she said. James held the picture frame as if it were the most precious thing in the world. "I'll put it on my bedside table, so it's the first thing I see when I wake up." The girls had made drawings. Chloe drew a house with 4 people in front. Hannah made something that looked like a rainbow mixed with a dragon, but she swore it was their family. James kept everything, every drawing, every note, every little piece of that day. In the afternoon, they stayed in the living room, doing nothing specific. The girls played with their new toys. Lauren read one of the books she had received. James just watched. There were no guests. There was no need to impress anyone. There was no formality or pressure, just the warmth of a home, the good noise of a family together. For the first time in 51 years, James felt that this was his place. Not in a mansion, not somewhere impressive, but right there, at that small table, in that cramped living room, with those people who had chosen him. No luxury, no audience, no loneliness, just the 4 of them, together, an unlikely family, formed by chance on a Christmas Eve a year ago, but a real family, whole, and that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. When night fell, the girls were already tired. Lauren put them to bed while James tidied the kitchen. He washed the dishes slowly, thinking about the day, about every moment, about every laugh. Lauren returned and dried the dishes beside him. "It was a good day," she said. "It was the best." "Really? It wasn't anything special?" James stopped washing, looking at her. "It was all special every second because it was with you." Lauren smiled, that tired but genuine smile that he had learned to love. "Merry Christmas, James. Merry Christmas, Lauren." The following months passed in a calm routine. Spring arrived, then summer. Life went on, simple, ordinary, perfect. On a September afternoon, James was sitting on the apartment balcony. Chloe and Hannah were playing nearby. Chloe was teaching her sister to jump rope. Hannah jumped and fell, but she laughed every time. Lauren was sitting in the chair next to him, reading a book. The sun was warm. A light breeze rustled the trees. James didn't say anything. He just watched. He watched the blonde girls running, their hair flying. He watched Lauren turning the pages of her book, completely absorbed. He watched that ordinary moment, with nothing special happening. And he realized he didn't need anything more. He didn't need to be a hero. He didn't need to save anyone. He didn't need to own anything or have control over anything. He just needed to be there, to belong, to be part of that space. Those lives, that family. For 50 years, he had searched, tried to fill the emptiness in every possible way. Work, money, things. But nothing had worked, because he was looking in the wrong place. The answer had never been about having. It was about being accepted, being loved, being needed. And now he was Grandpa James, the man who picked them up from school, who read stories, who made snacks, who was always there. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. Sometimes he didn't know what to do or say, but he was present, and that was enough. Hannah tripped and scraped her knee. She started to cry. James stood up automatically. "Let me see, little one." She ran to him, seeking comfort. He cleaned the scrape carefully, kissed her forehead. "It'll heal quickly. You're strong. It hurts. I know, but it will pass." James returned to the chair. Lauren looked at him over her book. "You're good at this." "At what?" "At being grandpa." He smiled. "I had good granddaughters to practice on." The sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink. The girls finally stopped running, tired. They sat on the balcony, leaning against him, one on each side. Lauren closed her book, looked at the three of them, her heart filled with that silent gratitude that needs no words. James looked at the horizon, at that ordinary late afternoon, nothing extraordinary, and he understood. He had spent his whole life looking for big moments, impressive achievements, things that would prove he mattered. But what really mattered was right there, in that quiet moment, in those tired girls leaning against him, in that woman who had opened her life to let him in. It wasn't about being a hero, it wasn't about owning anything, it was about belonging, and he belonged. Finally, after so long, he had found his place, not on a stage, not in an office, not at a crowded party, but right there, on that small balcony, with that imperfect and perfect family all at once. James closed his eyes for a moment, felt the breeze on his face, heard the girls breathing, heard Lauren turning pages, and he smiled. Because for the first time in his life, he was at peace. It wasn't just happiness, it was something deeper, it was contentment. It was knowing that this, exactly this, was enough. He didn't need more, he didn't want more, he just wanted this, forever. And when he opened his eyes, he saw Hannah looking at him. "Are you okay, Grandpa?" "I am." "I'm more than okay. You're smiling." "Am I?" "Yes." He pulled her closer. "It's because I'm happy." "Why?" "Because I'm here with you." Hannah thought about that for a moment. Then she accepted it, as children do. She went back to playing with his fingers, counting them one by one. Chloe leaned her head on his arm, yawning. Lauren watched it all in silence. And in that moment, on that ordinary afternoon, nothing else needed to be said, because they knew, everyone knew, that this was everything. It was enough. It was complete. A family that chose to be a family. No blood, no paperwork, no obligations, just love, presence, constancy. And in the end, that's what turns a house into a home. That's what turns people into family. That's what turns loneliness into belonging. James had found what he was looking for his whole life. It wasn't big, it wasn't impressive, it wouldn't make any headlines, but it was his, and it was everything. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like, because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.